Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm going to have to jump right into this topic today. You guys saw the title. The title alone gives you cliff notes for those who really don't have time to listen to a long video. This one, I don't think I can really cover the gist of the video early on, other than to say the cliff notes would be that bodybuilding is too expensive and most serious bodybuilders don't have life skills or enough income with anything other than selling their body to support the actual lifestyle for the most part, unless they're born wealthy. So that's one reason it's so widely spread within it. And there's a culture of it that was already created generations ago, so it's easy for people to fall into it. So let me throw on my +5 cap of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting here, see if I can skill up, and let's talk about this. So let's talk about some of these main people I named up front, because let's be honest, some of them are well known. I listed Cali Muscle. What's up, player? Greene, Mr. Grapefruit, and even Dorian Yates. So let's cover a little bit of this and how this actually happens. Well, first of all, Cali Muscle, it's pretty widely known that his gay porn name after he got out of prison was Chuck Basher. And it's no surprise. I mean, Cali's done really good with branching into acting, with doing YouTube. He makes a very, very substantial and lucrative income now with what he does, but that was not always the case. And you look at the guy's physique, his drug bill and food bill are going to be pretty damn high. No matter how much of a base he built in prison and getting D-ball smuggled inside of another man's anus, and eating tortillas and peanut butter from the commissary, there are limits. And he obviously didn't put on all of his size while he was in there. He got a lot bigger and a lot leaner after he got out, as we can see from his progress over the years. That just requires more expensive substances involved. It just does. That's the simple reality of it. Basic economics there. And he needed to get to that point so that he could market himself better, and it's been successful. But it's well known that his name was Chuck Basher. Anyone can go look it up. They can see Cali Muscle in action. That was his G4P name, Chuck Basher. So, as much as he tries to talk about being against transsexuals or homosexuality in prison and everything, the guy jumps out and does gay for pay as soon as he gets out to afford it. We got Greene, who has been a Mr. Olympia contender several times. Always a fan favorite. I did meet the guy briefly at an expo before. He actually seems like a legitimately nice person. I don't really have anything bad to say about the guy other than I don't like competitive bodybuilding. But as far as bodybuilders go, the dude seems like a genuinely nice person. He doesn't seem like a bad person in any way. I just didn't get that demeanor from him. His demeanor to me suggested that he was probably a good person overall. Maybe made some bad choices getting involved in bodybuilding, but that's his personal choice. And but early on, he did G4P. We've all seen the stuff. We've seen the grapefruit stuff. We know he was a stripper. Now, not all strippers do prostitution. In fact, if you chat to it with enough of them, both male or female, majority of them actually don't do tricks or extras or anything. But clearly Kai did a bit, and you know what? That's what he had to do to be able to afford to bodybuild. This lifestyle and to turn pro in bodybuilding is enormously expensive, mind-bogglingly expensive. And I'll get into that in a minute with some of the drug bills people can expect. Had Dorian Yates, a young man living in England with no real prospects. He got into bodybuilding early on, but there's no money in anything he could do early on. The guy developed at least a training system that allowed him to get in and out of the gym pretty quick, and that helped a lot. I think that's one of the big things that screws up these young bodybuilders. They think they actually have to be in the gym for 2 hours a day, and then they're spending all their time recovering and training and everything, and it really affects their ability to earn an income. Bodybuilding is expensive. Well, there were always rumors floating around in various circles, and still to this day, that because Dorian was one of the first guys to use a hefty dose of legitimate growth hormone, it's always been expensive. The price to pay for that, because he didn't have a meaningful trade, he didn't have a meaningful education or anything to really earn the type of money involved to get that he did have to trade his body. That was always a rumor. Now, is that true? I don't know if it's true or not. It's been a widely circulated rumor that may or may not be true, but it makes sense. And many, many people have said it to me over the years inside the bodybuilding world. But they always talk about that, and I heard it from some firsthand accounts while living in England. So that being said, How does all this happen? Why do they have to do this? Well, quite simply, most of these people don't have any other skills. And when you think about it, when you're a young man, you're 18, 19, or in Cali Muscle's case, he's a felon getting out of prison. No life skills, no education, no trade. He's a felon. It's hard to get good work. It's actually hard to find certain types of legitimate work that will pay you a lucrative amount of money. You combine that with the fact a lot of these guys think that they need to spend hours a day in the gym. They spend most of their time training, cooking, eating, and sleeping. Well, most of them can't afford a shift. They can't afford to buy pre-prepared food, and they have to eat enormous amounts of food. Some of these guys have been convinced they have to eat a 500 gram a day protein diet. That's expensive. For you to cook 8 meals every day and to get 500 grams of protein and eat mostly whole foods, your food bill is going to be enormous. You're going to spend at least an hour, if not 2 hours a day cooking. All right? These guys are sleeping at least 8 hours a day, 2 hours cooking, 2 hours training. That's 12 hours already knocked out of their day before any commute, anything else. They're also going to be tired, and I hear stories, a lot of them needing to sleep 10 hours a day. Then any cardio they need to do on top of it. They start running out of free time real fast because, again, also eating all those meals. A lot of them struggle to support themselves because when you have a grocery bill that's at least $500 a month, you're probably paying rent somewhere. Let's say they're having to pay $800 a month rent for a tiny little piece of crap 1-bedroom apartment somewhere. Now in England where Dorian was, it's even more expensive. But, a $500 a month grocery bill, let's say they got to have a car, even a used car with a car note on it. They might be paying $200 a month for some really crappy car, another $100 a month for insurance on it. I mean, you can see very quickly how their lifestyle can cost them, before any drugs or anything else, to live in a little shithole apartment with not the best car. You could get up to $2,000 a month real quick, plus gym memberships and everything. Well, most of these guys, I mean, you think about it, $2,000 a month income left over after taxes. They're needing to make at least 20-something thousand a year, probably 30 before taxes, just to survive, to have the basics. Well, most of these guys don't have any skills outside of training people, and most personal trainers are lucky to break 30 grand a year. Working the front desk at a gym, so you can get a free gym membership and be there all the time so that you can actually work out during your shift to try to make the best of your free time. They'll usually let you eat and stuff on the clock. A lot of those gyms have a place for your food. They can train clients on the side, but most of them barely even make that type of money. When you start factoring in the drugs, sure, anabolics are cheap enough, but it depends on what someone wants. What happens when they have a $200 a month steroid bill? What happens when that $200 a month steroid bill now needs to include $500 of growth hormone? Because Dorian Yates is self-admitted growth hormone stack when he talked about it in muscular development. How much you guys think that would run in today's prices? He was using 8 units of pharma-grade growth hormone a day. 8 units. In today's street prices, if you're well connected, that's $2,000 a month. That's if you've got connections. Unless I've done the math wrong, anyone care to correct my math? Maybe $1,500 if you're lucky, but closer to $2 grand. Where are these guys supposed to get that extra money? Because now we're talking about drug bills like that after their food bill and everything else. Some of these guys are going to need to make 50, 60 plus grand a year before taxes. None of these guys have the skills or the free time to make that type of money. So invariably, they're forced to go to things like stripping, gay for pay, prostitution, or selling drugs. A lot of them do all of the above. Because again, when you have a $60,000 a year lifestyle just to live in a tiny apartment and maybe drive a 2-year-old car that you maybe got financed, you got to come up with 60 grand a year just to survive and afford the bodybuilding lifestyle in that case. A lot of guys have to do all of the above. They have to resort to selling drugs and turning tricks. And when you consider that it was always rumored that Joe Weider promoted this, that Joe Weider had a fetish for muscular men, that he himself was a gay guy with that particular fetish. He brought all these guys over and oftentimes traded them drugs for sex. Those are always the stories that were out there. Well, this has been established in the culture since day one. It's been established since day one. So when you already have an existing situation going all the way back to the early 70s, with Joe Weider doing it, it seems to follow that considering that how a lot of gay men, a lot of wealthy gay men, have a muscle fetish, it's very common. That you could see how they could fall right into it. When you have a lifestyle that is that expensive and you can't afford that lifestyle, I mean, and even Nat Ogus talked about that, of the money he was able to make doing this. He's self-admitted to it. That it gave him so many opportunities that he didn't have before, that he could barely afford to bodybuild completely natty. He could barely afford it, scraping by at 18 years old with no skills, trying to work a full-time job in fast food. And the money was really, really good. Now you can see how this gets guys sucked in, because they get sucked into a lifestyle that is astronomically expensive, in addition to taking most of their free time up, while being young and having no skills outside of training. Because if you're training all the time and all you're doing is cooking, eating, and training with any of your free time, you don't have time to learn any other useful trade skills. What else are you going to do? How are you going to even develop a skill that's going to let you make a good income? You can't. Or, again, same case with the guy like Cali Muscle. Had minimal skills because he had been involved in organized crime and was now a felon. So then he gets out of prison. He can't exactly go easily get involved in organized crime too easily, because he's got to report to probation. He's going to be watched. He's considered to be a gang leader at that point from the jails. They're going to keep an eye on him as far as drug trafficking and stuff goes. So he's going to be limited on what he could have done for income. So he jumps over and becomes Chuck Basher. And that's the thing that guys need to consider. That lifestyle is expensive, and it's not a lifestyle that I would say most people should jump into too young in life, because ultimately you're going to have to find a way to pay for it. And these guys who've all been successful in their endeavors in their own right, every one of them have been successful down the road, but every one of them also had to sell their bodies to get there. So it just kind of goes hand in hand with bodybuilding. It's already a pre-established part of the bodybuilding world and community and subculture. So it's easy for guys to fall into. So that's how it happens. It's that simple. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.